Hello, good evening and welcome to the news around Africa on African Free Press Television. My name is Leo Oketa. The news updates. A German court has sentenced two Rwandan rebel leaders for masterminding attacks on civilians in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Ignace Muwan-Chiaka and Straton Musoni was accused of ordering militias to commit mass murder and rape between 2008 and 2009. The trial took place under a law which allows the prosecution of foreigners for crimes committed outside Germany. It was held as a breakthrough in bringing Rwandan rebels to justice. Muwan-Chiaka, who is the leader of the Democratic Forces for the Liberation of Rwanda, was given a 13-year sentence, while Musoni, his deputy, was sentenced to 8 years. Musoni was released immediately because of the time he has already spent in custody. They faced accusations that they ordered the killing of people because they were not cooperating with the FDLR. Human Rights Watch has called on the Tunisian authorities on Monday to free a 22-year-old student jailed last week for homosexuality and to repeal the law that criminalizes consensual sodomy. The youth had been detained on September the 6th in the Mediterranean resort area of Sousse for questioning in connection with a murder after his telephone number was found on the victim, lawyer said. HRW condemned the use of forensic anal examinations of people suspected of homosexual acts and called on Tunisia to halt them immediately. Such examinations are intrusive, invasive, and amount to cruel, inhuman, and degrading treatment that violates international law, it said. The Algerian president has said provisions of peace and national reconciliation charter will be fully respected. People's choices included in the law on civic concord and the Charter of Peace and National Reconciliation will be fully respected and preserved with no concession, he said on Monday. Nigeria is no longer on the list of polio-spreading countries, bringing it to a step closer to fully eradicating the paralyzing disease. After concerted efforts and immunization drives, Nigeria has not reported any new cases since July last year, the World Health Organization said on Friday. More than 200,000 volunteers spread out in remote areas and braved attacks by militant groups Boko Haram to immunize 45 million children under age 5. According to WHO, all laboratory data have confirmed a full 12 months have passed without any new case. Almost polio-free if it goes for 2 more years without new cases. Nigeria will be officially declared free of the disease. Eradicating polio will be one of the greatest achievements in human history and have a positive impact on global health for generations to come, WHO said. Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta says East African nations that have worked to bring a new peace agreement for South Sudan should expand their efforts to include international community in implementing the pact to end 20 months of fighting. Kenyatta said that pact will allow the opening of humanitarian corridors in South Sudan, where the conflict has forced 2 million people from their homes. It will also help in establishing an agreed upon unity government between the current administration and rebels. Kenyatta expressed the need to include not only the government and rebels in the process, but also to bring in civil society organizations, churches and communities of South Sudan. The peace deal agreed to last month calls for demilitarizing the country's capital, Juba, forming a transitional unity government within 90 days and giving rebels the position of vice president. Since signing, both sides have violated a ceasefire agreement. Youths from the 4 Akure-speaking local government areas of Ondo State on Monday trooped to major roads in the state capital to protest the recent abduction of the former secretary to the government, Chief Olufalaye, by suspected Fulani headsmen. The youths under the aegis of Akure Youth Coalition AYC decried the activities of headsmen who they accused of terrorizing people of Akure land and the state on their farmlands. The protesting youths from Akure South, Akure North, Ifedore, and Idanre local government areas carried placards of various inscriptions. The youths who converged on the town hall in the heart of the town and marched to the Deji's Place and Ondo State House of Assembly with placards which protested their grievances. Egyptian students returned to university after warnings against protests. Head of prestigious Cairo University had threatened to cut off the heads of those who plan unauthorized demonstrations on campus. Students in Egypt returned to their campuses on Monday to begin the new year of study amid dire warning against engaging in political activities at university. A Lagos-based Islamic human rights group says Saudi authorities are responsible for the stampede during the recent Hajj that left more than 700 people dead and scores injured. So far, 54 Nigerians are reported to have died in Mina, the site of the tragedy. The comments came a few days after Prince Khalid al-Faisal, head of Central Saudi Hajj Committee, blamed some pilgrims with African nationalities for causing the stampede. Nigeria is not the only country to accuse the Saudi authorities of incompetence. Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, has called on Saudi Arabia to apologize for the deaths instead of accusing this and that. The Saudis should accept the responsibility and apologize to Muslims and the victims' families, he said. There's still much that the medical community does not know about Ebola, such as the long-term impact on survivors and the subtleties of bodily fluid transmission. Dr. Abdul Kamara, head of Sierra Leone's laboratory services, raised sensitive case of Ebola death in newborn baby. A similar case was recorded in Guinea in July this year when a 3-week-old baby contracted Ebola from his mother's breast milk. These such cases differ significantly from normal means of Ebola transmission, representing a very tiny percentage of cases and are not believed to be cause for alarm. Dozens of British troops are to be sent to Somalia to help peacekeeping efforts to counter Islamist militants, David Cameron has announced. Up to 70 personnel will join a United Nations contingent supporting African Union troops fighting Al-Shabab. Up to 300 could also be deployed in South Sudan over time. The Prime Minister, who will pledge the support at the UN General Assembly Summit, said the approach could help cope migrants coming to Europe. Somalia's President Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud is one of the several world leaders with whom Mr. Cameron will hold face-to-face talks. Al-Shabab is battling Somalia's government for control of the country. British forces deployed there will provide combat training and medical, logistical and engineering support. States will be intransigent, said the President of the Republic. And that's the news for you around Africa on African Free Press Television. For more stories, please do visit our website at www.africanfreepress.com. Follow us on Twitter at African Free Press and like us on Facebook at African Free Press. From me, Leo Oketa, and the whole team in the studio this evening, it's a very good evening to you. Please do enjoy the rest of your night.